Kulsprutepistol M45, also known as the Carl Gustav M45 and the Swedish K SMG, is a 9x19mm Swedish submachine gun designed by Gunnar Johnsson, adopted in 1945, and manufactured at the Carl Gustafs Stads Gevärsfaktori in Eskilstuna, Sweden. The M45 was the standard submachine gun of the Swedish Army from 1945 to 1965. It was gradually replaced in Swedish service by updated AK-4 and AK-5 assault rifles. The last official user of the M45, the Swedish Home Guard, retired it from service in 2007. The M45 SMG was developed in 1944-45, with a design borrowing from and also improving on many design elements of earlier submachine guns. The sheet metal stamping techniques used in making the German MP40, the British Sten, and the Soviet PPSH-41 and PPS-43 were studied in detail. Two designs were tested in 1944, one from Carl Gustafs Stads Gevärsfaktori and one from Eskilstuna Vapenfabrik AB, and the prototype from Carl Gustafs Stads Gevärsfaktori was chosen for further development. The first production version was adopted in 1945 as the M45. The Danish Hovere M49 SMG, although similar in appearance, is not a version derived from the M45. The Hovere was a development of the failed test contender from Eskilstuna Vapenfabrik AB. Due to its simple construction, copies made to the Carl Gustav design were crudely manufactured in small metal shops and by unofficial gunsmiths, as a cheap weapon used for crime in the early 21st century. The weapon was sometimes called the Carlo. Features: the standard M45 is a fully automatic-only weapon without any option for semi-automatic fire. It weighs 3.3 kg unloaded, and 4.2 kg loaded with a 36-round box magazine. It is 808 mm long with the stock extended, and 550 mm long with the stock folded. The M45 is an open bolt design with a fixed firing pin. The relatively slow cyclic rate of fire and low recoil of the bolt mechanism actuation makes it easy to control during full automatic fire. Single shots are also easy to achieve by letting go of the trigger before another round is cycled. The M45 is fairly accurate up to 200 meters. Accessories include special subcaliber barrel for firing blanks and low-powered gallery ammunition. When firing blanks, a cone-shaped blank firing adapter must be attached to the threaded muzzle of the subcaliber barrel to ensure the mechanism has adequate pressure for its blowback operation. Other accessories include night sights that attach to the fixed day sights, a brass catcher for collecting spent cartridges, a quick detachable ejection port cover for guard duty which secures the bolt from accidental firing, and a speed loader that loads the 36-round magazine in seconds. The M45 was also issued with a standard cleaning kit containing a threaded cleaning rod, threaded jag and a container for the jag, lubricant and cleaning patches. The standard sling issued was made of leather, attached to the rear left receiver and left barrel sleeve sling bars. The 36-round straight detachable staggered rowbox magazine is wider at the rear than at the front. The extra space allows the 9mm parabellum cartridges to feed more efficiently in dusty environments and sub-zero temperatures. The trapezium design makes the magazine very reliable, because magazines of parallel side design are more likely to jam under adverse conditions. The magazine was used post-war by Finland in the M31 Suomi under the designation M54. A distinguishing feature of the variation M45 is a steel wire carrying loop mounted at the bottom front edge. The basic design idea of the M45 magazine was also used for the magazines of the Czech Model 23 and Model 25 and the French submachine guns. The M45 has no safety switch. Instead, the M45 is put in safe by sliding the cocking handle into a short side slot above the main slot. In the example U.S. Army photograph, this short safety side slot is visible behind the rear L sight. This design feature results in a somewhat longer time to ready the weapon for firing, because the soldier must remove his right hand from the pistol grip and trigger as if operating a bolt-action rifle. When the M45 is unloaded, the bolt is locked in place in the bolt-forward position by pushing the cocking handle inwards, engaging a hole in the lower left receiver wall. Variants. First production, the SMG models K M45 and K M45S featured a detachable magazine support. It accepted the M37395 5-round coffin magazine and the later standard 36-round box magazine. Over time, most first production M45s were converted by permanently riveting the magazine support to the receiver. The M45 had a dark gunmetal finish. General production. The M45B model features a fixed magazine support, smaller holes in the barrel shroud, a strengthened bolt buffer, and a hook securing the buffer cap in place. Early M45B models had the same metal finish as the M45, but most had a grey-green lacquer finish. Ceremonial and in UNONU. The M45C is an M45B with a bayonet mount on the barrel sleeve, which was used for parade and guard duties. During the Congo crisis in the 1960s, the Swedish UN forces used the C version extensively. The standard M45 and M45B have no bayonet mount. Police. The Swedish police had the M45 as a reinforcement weapon in their organization, but it was unlike the military model equipped with a switch for fully automatic as single shot. The police model designation was M45BE and BET. The BET model became later escrowed to the switch so that only single shot could be fired. B model had the same finish as the military M45, but could be painted in black if the old finish had become too worn. It also received a modified stock in mid-late 70s with a removable upper cheek piece that allows the operator to wear a visored riot protection helmet. BET model was painted black and would only be used to fire a tear gas canister. To be able to shoot away the canister, a special propellant cartridge had to be used. A red sticker on the left side of the weapon reminded the operator that they could only use that kind of ammunition. It also had a high front sight and an adjustable rear sight. The M45 BET was replaced by Heckler & Koch MZP-1 in the early mid-1990s because it was considered unfashionable and new tear gas canister was difficult to come by after that it contained the hazardous substance Freon 12. Manufacturer news. The Swedish Army list price of the K M45 was around 600 Swedish krona in the late 1970s. The Carl Gustav M45 was replaced in the Swedish Armed Forces during the mid-1990s with the AK-4 and AK-5. On the 2nd of April 2007, K M45 was officially declared obsolete when it was retired from Hemvärnet, who were the last users in the Swedish military. In addition to Sweden, several other countries have used the weapon, with versions of the weapon being produced in Egypt and the licensed production in Egypt. The M45 has been manufactured under license in Egypt as the port said and the Akaba. The tooling needed for production, as well as technical assistance, was sold by Sweden to Egypt during the 1950s. The port said looks and functions exactly as the M45, while the Akaba is a modified and simplified version. The Akaba has no barrel jacket and a slightly shorter barrel, and the folding buttstock has been replaced by a telescoping wire buttstock similar to the one used on the US M3A1 and the French Mat 49 submachine guns. The simplified sights of the Akaba were moved to the front and back of the receiver, used by the United States in Southeast Asia. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. Navy SEALs used the Carl Gustav M45 SMG extensively. One of the gun's qualities which appealed to the U.S. Navy was that the M45 can fire almost immediately out of the water. It also saw use by CIA operatives and advisors. In U.S. service it was largely known as the Swedish K or K rifle. The U.S. Navy was so impressed by the M45 that when Sweden embargoed the export of weapons to the USA in 1966, Smith & Wesson was given the task of producing a copy. This was designated the Smith & Wesson M76. However, by the time the M76 was ready for combat deployment, the U.S. Navy interest had largely evaporated. Many of the M45s used by U.S. forces and agencies were devoid of markings implying clandestine use. Uses Algeria, Egypt, manufactured locally under license as the port said in Akaba. Estonia, Estonian Navy. Indonesia, manufactured locally under license. Ireland, the Irish Army used the Carl Gustav M45 during the Congo crisis in the 1960s, during the Lebanese Civil War in the 1970s and during the Troubles. It was replaced in the Irish Army's inventory by the Steer August, a compact assault rifle comparable in size to some submachine guns. Katanga, small numbers, captured from UN troops. Latvia, National Guard. Paraguay, Sweden, United States. South Vietnam,